Hello, everyone out there on the internet, and welcome to another highly anticipated installment of Bohemian Arts' Creator Chat series. If you did not know what this is, Creator Chat is our unofficially titled series where we have been talking with other creatives and artists about their creative process, the stories they're telling, and their 2 cents about the industry and the art they create. Today, we have a fantastic panel that I cannot tell you how excited I am to talk to these guys. It's the writers, directors, lead actors, designers, producers, a bunch of multi-hyphenates of a world premiere musical, Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound, and with them they've brought one of their other cast members, actor Brayden Handwerger. Hi guys, how you guys doing, first of all?
Fantastic.
Doing great.
Awesome. Just a quick piece of house cleaning before we get to our interview here. I would like to take a moment to talk about Bohemian Arts. Bohemian Arts is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to providing quality arts programming and arts education to all audiences. We have done this series of creator chats on our YouTube and Facebook and are very excited to be bringing it back after our last one back in March of 2021, where we did our 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee reunion special. And let's get into it, guys. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you guys, Wyatt and Izaiah. You guys created this show from the ground up, and this is sort of like your guys' little baby. So kind of just give us the basic rundown of the show. What's it about? How did you get the idea for it?
Well, Sean, this show, it's about two brothers. Gosh, Isaiah, why don't you give the spiel? You're better at it than I am.
Okay, so originally I had written a song for a friend of mine. He had some lyrics or whatever, and I created a melody, and the song that came out of it was, I don't know, very inspiring and very interesting for, you know, for us as artists and creators. I think Wyatt looked at that song, and we performed it at some point, and you were inspired to create Tanner Maverick.
Yeah, really, I heard that song, and it was our friend who wrote this song. He basically poured like his whole journey through like his, mental, challenges and stuff like that, and his whole his anxieties and everything into this song. And when I heard it, I got the sense that I could, if I didn't know this person at all, I would know everything about their journey. And that's really what the show came from, is the idea that through one song or one piece of art or one just line or melody, you can know everything about a person. So Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound is about a young man whose brother, who's much older than he is, has died years and years ago. He finds this book of songs written by his brother, and through reading this book and the music and the lyrics that he wrote down about every aspect of his life, he gets to know his brother, who is long gone. And it's really about discovery, and through all of learning about Tanner and his book and his life and everything, he grows and his friends grow, and it's really about how someone who is going through all this pain and all this turmoil can relate to pretty much everybody on a more personal level than we think.
I love that, and it's definitely a thing we need more in just storytelling and theater, is just people telling their own personal stories and telling stories that just aren't told much in sort of like commercial entertainment. So Wyatt, you came up with the idea. How did it blossom from there into eventually you guys writing it?
Well, a couple years prior, we wrote like this jukebox musical with this band from the 80s. It was like, we won't get into it, but like it was so we had written a show before together.
We were used to working together by that point.
Yeah, we work well together because obviously we're brothers and we have similar tracks of mind. But so I just basically, like, I went home and heard this after hearing the song, and I just kind of word vomited this outline of this musical onto, a Google Doc, and I sent it to Isaiah, and we were just like, okay, yeah, let's start getting to work on this. So we like fleshed it out a little bit more, and then we started writing the individual scenes and editing each other's work, and
Exactly.
it was a lot of just like, let me write a scene, Isaiah is this bad, and then vice versa. Like he
Yeah.
writes a scene, he gives it to me, I'm like, okay, like da da da, and then
It was kind of funny that like we were the ones that would review each other's drafts. Like
Yeah,
we,
no.
we wouldn't really like go back and look at it too often. It was just like, okay, here's this, take it, you give me what you
take
get.
it. Yeah.
You
We'll
know?
switch back and forth, and we'll just kind of strain it down to what's good.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of working separately rather than doing like specific writing sessions with each other. I'm assuming you guys did, but yeah.
There were plenty of moments like a lot of the big scenes. We just sat down together and were like, how exactly do you want to make this happen? Obviously, like big story arc. From a macro perspective, like we were like both very involved together, kind of pulling it together.
At the time though, Isaiah was like in the heart of like college, and like I was applying to schools and also in school at the time. So there was hardly really a moment where we were both free at the same time. So that's why it kind of came to
It was more necessity.
one or
Right.
the other. But definitely for the big scenes, we were like, there's a few scenes in the show, quite a few of them that were like, we have to save this to look at together and write as a team, because there are big moments in the show like that.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. As a writer myself who has a writing partner, I definitely appreciate sort of just like that look into how people work together in that way when crafting a story, because you don't see that a lot. So, walk me through it. You guys wrote this original musical, your first original musical, because your first show was a jukebox show. How did developing it further after the script came along happen? And Brayden, how did you get involved?
It's a funny story, actually. I had just finished a TV gig, and I was kind of like, I was out of high school at the time, and I was like, I need to do more theater because I switched my focus over to doing a lot of television and film stuff, and I was feeling, I was like, I'm gonna get rusty if I stay out of the theater world for too long. And I actually missed the auditions, and my friend Ryan was talking about it. Ryan was also in the show. He played Lewis. And I was like, that actually sounds like a really cool idea. And I had known the Rhineharts a little bit in the past. We'd bump into each other after shows and stuff. But I got in touch with them, and we arranged an audition and a callback, and that was where I got brought into the project.
It's a very
Nice.
good addition.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brayden, you're now in this show, and as independent producers, you, Isaiah and Wyatt, you guys also directed the show and are performing in it at the same time. Which, by the way, I know I was talking to you gushing about this show before we recorded, but props to you guys for being able to have that many hats at all throughout that process.
It really was like we had to be every aspect of it.
Yeah,
there
no,
was
totally.
there was really no side of this show that we didn't.
Except for choreography. We
Except
had a
for
choreographer.
choreography.
Jessica Wax was our choreographer.
She did a very good
an
job.
amazing job.
Yes.
We choreographed our first show that we did, the jukebox musical. We actually choreographed it, and it was just like too much because we're not dancers. So like, what are we doing? But so we got an amazing choreographer for this show, which was awesome.
Absolutely.
But literally every other hat was worn by both of us.
Yeah.
Hey, I put stuff on the set.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's so true.
The
I
cast
hope
had
the set
worked
design-
together a lot and put a lot of effort into getting our set together, which was fantastic.
It was amazing. And it was really funny because the set kind of, to fast forward just a little bit, we can go back to sort of the rehearsal process after this, but like fast forwarding to like Tech Week, the show, like the look of it sort of came about by we ordered these platforms from CYT, and then we brought them in, and they just like were just platforms. So Brayden and Jacob kind of collaborated, and all of the rest of the cast, they brought in stuff as well, and we just kind of created this really beautiful landscape, and we covered the whole thing in sheet music, and we taped it on, and then we put these like broken like vinyl records on, and then it looked, by the end of it, we had instruments in it, like old bicycles, old drum sets. It looked really very much like the, sort
like
of
a pair of
bohemian
Converse
artist
and,
thing.
like,
I actually have the old drum set in my.
That old drum set. You still have it. Yeah.
Still have it, yep, and the hubcaps.
I can attest that set looked absolutely beautiful.
That
And
set.
my favorite part was the giant keyboard that was just like dead center. That was
We just
and the
jammed it under the stage.
yeah. And this is a very specific question, but that sheet music that was on the set, now that we're talking about the set, was that sheet music from the show?
Yes.
About
Yes and no.
like 75% of it was sheet music from the show. But like all the stuff like in the back, we just like got old sheet music from thrift stores because like you can't really see that. But like if you remember, there's stuff on the walls on either side. All of
Right.
the walls were covered in sheet music from the show.
I had a hell of a fun time looking through, like, oh, I'm tearing up Chopin? No.
Let's walk back to the rehearsal process here, and we talked about you guys having to direct this show together as well as be in it. And Brayden, you got to create a brand new character in this. Let's focus on Wyatt and Izaiah's part of it first. How was getting to direct, produce, and be in the cast in this rehearsal process? Because you guys had a very sort of unconventional way that you did rehearsals, which I'm assuming was out of necessity, because as a producer myself, I know rehearsal spaces are very hard to get.
Oh, totally. And also, for the audience, we rehearsed outside in a park in Escondido. And that's also because it was in the middle of COVID times, and we pretty much had to be outside for our rehearsal spaces. Also, yes, rehearsal space is so expensive, and we didn't want to pay for it. But so yeah, and it really did work out. It worked out really well. As far as directing goes, like Izaiah and I, it was just a full-on, like in its truest form, just a full-on collaboration with us.
Yeah.
Like we.
It like
Yeah.
like down to the wire, and throughout like the entire process, I would take a scene, Wyatt would take a scene. We'd be like, okay, you go take these people, you do that. I trust you with this scene. We went through it together.
Yeah.
We like there'd be a couple scenes where like I would not have seen what your decisions were there
Until like almost Tech Week time, like until we were running the show.
Yeah, because it was so heavily like I trust you to pull this off.
And it's really interesting
you know?
too, because we had like the songs in the show, like we have our songs that we like either one of us wrote, and then the scenes in the show, like we were saying before, like we would write a first draft of the scene and then the other would look at it. So a lot of the directing came down to like, I wrote the first draft of this scene, I had a vision for it when I wrote it, I'm gonna direct it, I'm gonna block it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing for like a couple of the songs, whatever songs didn't have choreography in them, it would be like, I wrote this song, I'm gonna choreograph it,
Right. And Brayden, how was this opportunity to get to create a brand new character from the ground up? Because I know that's a very special opportunity to get as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had only been on the acting side of debuting a role one other time before. I mean, I'm used to it in the writing chair, but being in the actor's seat, it was a very interesting process because so much of it just came from a lot of the whole show is really built on this idea of relatability and just being grounded in reality. It's not something super crazy like fantastical. It's something every person can relate to. So I wanted to build the character as a very just normal human being, and kind of emphasize his struggles through that lens of he's not a character, he's just a guy in high school, so it was a lot of fun, just getting to kind of experiment with that, and sometimes I pushed it too far, but it was nice. It was nice.
We caught you when you did.
Yeah, you kept us on our toes as well.
Well, the beauty of that is like we encouraged you and everyone there to make choices. Like and because we
Yeah.
wanted that relatability, like just like you said, like we looked at the script that we'd written and the story that is just so like grounded in reality, as far as like these characters and who they are. Many of these characters, of course, like write what you know, they're based off of people that we've known or situations that we've
Or us.
or
honestly.
us.
But,
So a lot of that was really just like I encourage you to make choices. I encourage you to be specific. I encourage you to be unique because that uniqueness is what's relatable.
Yeah, and then that came from the casting process as well. We wanted to cast actors who we knew we could trust to create something, and we in part casted based on personality and like how much of yourself will shine through to this character.
I remember the one part in callbacks when we just turned on a song and just said dance.
Yeah.
And like
We turned on Mr. Brightside by the Killers, and then we said just dance and go crazy.
I just want to
And
see
so-
who you are
Yeah.
when at your most energetic, and that's partly what we cast.
And well, also the show is mostly like we like coined the phrase euphoric punk music. So it's mostly like punk, and then some of it's like it's very the stuff that's not punk is just very intimate music. So we wanted to see how they, felt when there's this punk music playing, and like, we wanted to see their true like selves come out in that. And
Yeah.
it proved to be very valuable.
Yeah.
And the hammer comes down tonight. Heaven knows nobody goes without a fight. Come down, alright, the end's in sight. Come down, okay. Thank the Lord, nothing's standing in our way. 'Cause the hammer comes down to close you all away. And they say nothing lasts too long.
And going back to that point that Brayden and Izaiah, you guys are making about sort of the realism in the show, I do gotta say that I believe that vision was very much, you could very much see that in the audience, because what it felt like to me in a lot of the design aspects, as well as the characters in the story, was sort of like I was watching sort of like a very grounded like Netflix teen drama that was told through this beautiful music, as well as also just, again, I've talked a lot about the design of this show, but I'm telling you, there was some stuff with the lights that had my jaw dropped a couple times. Would you design that, Wyatt?
Yeah.
I saw Izaiah was pointing at you there.
I did a lot of Act 1.
Isaiah did a lot of Act 1. I probably did like 60 or 70% of the lights. Isaiah did a lot of the cool moments were Isaiah as well, but it was
Again, a collaborative effort.
Yeah. But no, but it's super fun.
Which does lead me to want to ask, so now you're in Tech Week. You've gone through this whole rehearsal process where you've gotten this cast to learn an entirely new show, which I'm assuming for a lot of them is something they've never experienced before, having, growing up in the youth theater that we do throughout our childhoods. So now you're in the theater, which you guys rented on your own, which I hugely commend for that, just the courage to do that. And so you guys are in tech and you have to design this entirely new show from the ground up in this theater. Kind of walk us through how it was getting to work with the cast, put it on the stage, and sort of see your vision come to life.
It felt like a whirlwind. Like, I don't even honestly remember a lot of it, but because it was just so fast and there were so many things happening at once. Along the lines of, you're right, renting a theater is a crazy endeavor. So we did one less day of tech week because it wasn't in our budget. So we only had 3 days of tech week instead of the usual 4. Is that right? Yeah, we had 3 days. So everything was just on high speed the whole time. It was, but yeah, no, it was a really amazing experience. A lot of things were done by the cast, and it was really great to see them step up, and the cast led spacing rehearsals and stuff like that, like trying to get your marks on stage and everything. That was all the cast. I was up in the light booth designing the lights pretty much the whole first 2 days of tech. Yeah. And yeah, it was really, the cast stepped up for Tech Week. So yeah, if you're watching this cast, good job.
So hey yo, crack the walls of this concrete box with blacked out halls. Play on if you can. It's a sold out show for a one-man band.
And yeah, it very much seems to me like this show was a very like collaborative, communal experience with the company, which is just, it's something that I find so special in seeing how this cast was on social media when the show was being put up. Just like people were putting up set pieces on their own. You know, I saw Brayden, you were helping out. I wanted to know if there were any like specific instances, stories, or just challenges that you had, whether it was logistical, financial, or just creative wise, of getting the show up in this space with the limited amount of time that you had.
Well, getting the actual show out there and getting people to come see it was a huge thing, you know. Yeah. Like there was certainly an element that we were nervous we weren't going to make ends meet when it came to just getting people to see it, you know, because it's a new show. You know, of course our friends and family want to come see it, the cast friends and family want to come see it, you know, but there was a legitimate worry that like we wouldn't be able to, there was a worry we'd be in the red after the end of it, you know, so which we weren't.
Which is great.
We actually we were okay. Nice. And actually, no, we were comfortable coming out of it.
Yeah, no, but
it was that was a worry for me a lot of the time, you know, and also of course like this is something you pour your heart and soul into, you know. By the time that you're about to put it up, I remember sitting there on stage.
There's this fear, like our opening night, like I was like, I don't know if you remember Brayden, but I was just very nervous and very quiet the whole time. But like it was a really, I was just petrified because I didn't know if people were gonna like it at all, and we'd been working on this for like a year and a half or something at that point.
Yeah. And
it was very much a passion project for us, and there was this like overwhelming fear of like, will they like it? And like the first moment of the show is the entire cast walks out on stage and they sing the overture a cappella, and like there's this big crescendoing moment, and just like, so we walk out, and when that big crescendo hits, like there's just this huge thunderous applause and screams from the audience, and that moment I was like, okay, I can relax a little bit. We got him hooked. And let's go.
To talk about the music a little bit, if I may. You know, like we had put so much effort into making this show both like a drama and a comedy. You know, so like there's a lot of this show that's extremely heavy. And as a writer, for not only for the story but for the music, I remember composing things that I was like, this is euphoric, you know, on something that's so sad and something that's so dark, you know. And I remember thinking about that. I'm like, this speaks to me, and I love the way this tells the story. But are people in the audience going to look at this and think, oh, he's like justifying it, or he's making light of like, or he's representing these problems wrong, you know, like that was a genuine worry for me a lot of the time, you know. It's like, how do we,
Yeah.
like as composers, represent what these characters are feeling in a way that's relatable for the audience, you know?
Can't you see what it means to me? Can't you see what it means to me? Can't you see what it means to me? If you remember me, Cassidy.
Yeah, and I again very much commend you guys for an awesome job when it comes to all of that. Which I also want to ask, now that you bring that up, Isaiah, there's a lot of, without giving away spoilers, there's a lot of this show that focuses on the conversation on mental health in our country and sort of what the youth are struggling with. Were there any worries or concerns when it came to that aspect of the show? Because it's a big part of the show and of the character, of the title character.
Yeah, it was one of, I think our biggest worries was to represent all of our mental health topics in a justified and real way, in a way that people could see in like a real life and stuff, and in a way that people would feel represented, you know? That was our biggest thing, is to make sure people felt represented.
Exactly. There's many moments in this show, not all of them, but you know, like Wyatt and I tend to pour ourselves into those two main characters that we ended up playing.
Jason and Tanner.
So Jason and Tanner, you know, like was really just a lot of us at moments, you know. And I remember.
And so the question really became, are we relatable?
But I mean, in a way, you know, it totally did. You know, like there were songs that I was like, this is like me at my most raw. Like, do I want to share this with people? Like, or will people get it? You know. So
Well, now people know it's you, so.
yeah, well, there you go.
You've exposed yourselves. Get them, boys.
Get him, he's right here.
And I actually want to ask you too, Brayden. You know, your character, I notice, provides a lot of comic relief in some serious scenes, but also he does have some serious sort of heavy stuff going on with him. So how was, sort of same question for you, how was sort of the experience as an actor of balancing those aspects of your character and contributing to this story and what it's saying?
You know, I think the funniest people are the people who go through a hell of a lot. You know, so I kind of, you know, when I first got the script, I looked at that and I was like, that's interesting. You know, the beats are very dramatic scene, but he's got these little one-liners, you know. And then I kind of, after some thinking about it, I was like, this kid's life is kind of, he's miserable. He's not doing well, you know. So it sort of turned into this thing where it became this very real feeling of the character's way of coping with everything, because the show takes a good dive into the way people just deal with their individual issues. And I felt like Tony's issue, he was the guy who never really could talk about it with anybody because people were always expecting him to be the person listening to them, you know, not vice versa. So I saw those little comedic bits in some of these serious scenes very much so as it's a coping mechanism, you know. It's almost a cry for help almost, where he's doing this because it's the only way he can kind of express any sort of, you know, discomfort or dissatisfaction in his life is by having this coping mechanism of making jokes about it, because he really doesn't have another way.
One book of sound. These songs I write, they represent my life.
Okay, so you guys have opened this show, and I do want to touch on the aspect of just how well you guys handled your marketing aspect of the show, because this show, at least to me, was everywhere when it was coming out. That may just be based off the people I follow online, but it was everywhere to me, to the point where I was like, I have to see it at this point. So I wanted to know, just sort of, I want you guys to sort of just sum up the experience of making the production of Tanner Maverick, because we're about to go into what I'm saying for the first time in this interview, the cast album that you're about to release. Just sort of give us like a few sentence summary to you of what this show meant to you and your experience in general of making the production that was on stage. Rhinehart, if you want to start.
Yeah, of course. Well, the marketing side of it was really interesting. I myself am not super attached to like the social media side of things. I tend to be more of like, oh, let me just jump into the art, and just like do it. So it was a collaborative process. Wyatt took the front seat at moments on those things, then I took the front seat at other times. It was just like,
and it was definitely like who had time to video during rehearsal and like throw it up there.
Yeah.
But like, we did really try to put it everywhere. We put it in the paper, we put it online, and we did. There was news segments about us. We were on TV a couple times for the show, but it really came down to the cast spreading awareness about it, and it's really one of the most touching things. Going back to like putting on the show, one of the things that meant the most to me was how much the cast really believed in it, and how much they wanted to put it on, and they felt proud to tell this story, because I like to think that they found themselves in some of the characters, and each character is sort of meant to represent a different challenge that youth go through in every new generation, really. And so I'm glad that they were able to find themselves in some of the characters and really be proud of the show that we put on.
we got an email from one of our cast members recently that was one of the sweetest messages I've ever read, and it was just like, they said like how much this show meant to them and how impactful it was for their development as an artist, and just motivation to get out of bed during the summer. And I mean, I cried reading it. It was
really sweet.
It was amazing.
It was really humbling to hear.
But that is the reason. That's the thing that stuck out to me. Like, yes, we put blood, sweat, and tears like into all of it, But the actual fact that I love that the audience loved it. I'm stoked for that, But the fact that we developed this really beautiful little community between the actors, and that for me was just immeasurably amazing.
And I know you said a few sentences, but we're going a little bit past that. But and that really comes back to the show's truest form, which is about connecting people and like making it's shattering the illusion that we're all separate based on class or race or upbringing or anything like that. It's that everyone goes through the same stuff, really, and we all really fight the same battles. And to see the show connect a group of 16 actors to a degree that I've never really watched a cast get so connected before, it was really, really beautiful.
Yeah. What about you, Brayden?
I mean, ditto, man. No, yeah, I think you said it pretty well. I mean, it was a very unique experience. I took a 3-week hiatus during the middle of the show, went on a little fishing expedition to Alaska. But, when I came back, I just sensed, like, even in that short amount of time, it was during that part of a show where you really kind of, you're past the beginning, you're now in it, And coming back into it, it was just, I was so surprised by how connected everybody within the project was. And I had never seen anybody be so passionate about a project in years, to be completely honest. It was like every person in that cast was so dedicated it was incredible. It was really a one of a kind experience. And I think you said it pretty well about things about, it's just a very connecting experience regardless of class, race, religion, anything. It was funny because when I was cast in the role, I noticed the last name or the name was Antonio Wilson. And I'm Costa Rican, so I remember going up to the Reinhardts and being like, hey, here's an idea. Could we make this a thing with the character that he is a Hispanic? He's Hispanic, and it was a thing we integrated into the show, and it was really nice because then these ideas started coming, and it made the show feel even more connected. That we were including these things, like this nice racial recognition of some races that don't necessarily get very represented in musical theater. And it was a really cool thing to do. And I think just overall, the whole cast was dedicated. That's the word, honestly.
It comes to an end when you'd expect. I haven't had more than all the rest, but I've had enough. For years at a time, I took a stand. What I want an end for is one man band. All I need's a way out. And believe me, you won't see me, 'cause I will be back.
So yeah, we've done the show, which you guys did a few months ago back in August, and now you guys are going in to do this cast album that you guys have not released yet at the time of doing this interview. How was the experience of getting to record a world premiere cast album of an original musical for the first time, first of all?
It's crazy. We're still in the sort of middle of doing it because some of our actors live in New York. One of them lives in Georgia. A couple are in northern, like in LA and north areas.
You gotta do what you gotta do
Pick up
to
those
get the
songs.
recording.
The whole cast of Tanner Maverick is currently scattered across America, but so it came down to a lot of trying to get everything done before people left, literally like a week after the show, and or everything we could done. So now it's coming down to like Christmas break. We're gonna record the last bit of it. We're gonna tie it up.
Because everybody's coming back.
No, yeah,
that's
everyone's
the big
coming
thing.
back,
That's
yeah.
why it's like.
But we had one big day where we had almost everyone in the cast in this room actually, and we just like put up two mattresses next to each other and a microphone in the middle and just like recorded everybody one by one and just did most of the show.
Wyatt and I had done a lot of recording in the past anyway. Like we recorded all the tracks that are obviously like we were the ones that played them when it came to recording them for the show. We had just, and also like demos and so on and so forth. We had made so many songs in the past that this was just like something that we just could, iron out pretty quickly. It's the getting the actors here. That's the crazy part.
Right. And were there any changes in the have been made from the show to the album? Obviously, you have to cut some dialogue and stuff out for the sake of the music. But is there anything substantial that has changed in the music or the script that is being reflected in the album? And Brayden, this also goes for you in terms of a performance aspect of this.
Yeah, real fast. Most of the changes actually came from what we wrote originally, and then obviously it's a first production of it, so through the rehearsal process and the shows, so much changed. Like the original script that we gave to the actors on day one is not at all the script that we performed on opening night, And then the music, everything's different. So we're going back to what was performed in the show, and yeah, we're cutting out dialogue and some of the instrumental bits that are in between some of the songs. But mostly everything's the same as it was in this sort of world premiere concept of the show. And we're marketing this album, which will be released early next year, which is going to be exciting.
Yes.
we're marketing this album as
Like a
the
working-
Tanner Maverick concept
Yeah.
album, pretty much, because yeah, and that's pretty much what it was. And the show's not going to be complete until it's on Broadway, frankly. So it's still concepting, and so we're gonna get there and keep moving forward with it. But Brayden, if you want to talk about it.
I mean, from a performance angle, I do something on stage, and I did something in the recording booth. That's how it goes.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though, is like we were kind of capturing the energy of, this production. Like we didn't, a lot of stuff, like since we had already changed it, by the time we had performed it, it was like, okay, this is where it's going to be for right now. So as we're recording it, it's like, this is the vibe. This is our.
I like it. We're gonna chill with this for now.
Yeah, for right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would assume that I record things for myself, and I feel a certain sense of when I'm recording something that's gonna live in perpetuity for the next forever. You feel sort of a sense of I have to get this at a certain quality that I want in order to put this out into the world, because it's something that's gonna live for forever. Was there any sort of concern or worry, or just did that thought ever come to mind while making this?
It comes to mind every day, my friend. But yeah, no, it's definitely there. There's always that aspect of I want it to be as good as it can be, and as someone who is, learning how to sound mix on the fly, it's like, okay, I want us to be as good as possible and as good as I can make it. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. But
Yeah, but of course, at the same time, it's like you gotta get it out there, because if you just keep waiting on it, we'll be another production in, and we'll have never released the concept album. That's the thing. You gotta put in your best effort, and I think it marks where not only the cast was at the time that you recorded it, but also where your mixing and your production skills were at the time of like conception for this album. I think it's almost fitting. Yeah.
And that brings up a good point. What I think the reason I wanted to bring you guys onto this, especially because Bohemian Arts here, a lot of our focus is on arts education, and what I feel like a lot of people could learn from you, that I have learned myself in making my own projects, quite frankly, is what I think makes great art are the people behind it who, no matter how hard the struggle is to keep the art going, will stop at nothing, even putting mattresses in between to keep it going. And I really commend you guys for that.
Hey, Billie Eilish records in her closet, so.
That's a good point. So what's the future of Tanner Maverick, guys? I know that's a very broad question. But yeah, do you have any ideas for how you want this show to continue? I know, Wyatt, you're going off to school soon. And what do you want this show to be? If you mind answering that, or what's your vision of what the show becomes after the album has been released?
Well, we want to use the album, as like a means of getting the show out there, for one thing. It's something that I won't go too into it simply because something's
right
in the works.
Yeah.
But we want to use that album as like a means of getting it out to people, and like these producers or whatever you're going with, for it to be picked up. It's a very nice way of just saying, oh, here's the highlights,
And we have our production video as well. So we're using the production video, going to be combined with the album to get that out to as many people as possible. We do, like as I said, we have a few things in the works right now. But yeah, so our plan is to just kind of get as many people kind of into it as we can, and move forward from there and see what happens.
And Brayden, I do want to ask you this from an actor's perspective. Let's say Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound 2.0 is happening what would you want to see, both in your character and in your performance, obviously without giving away spoilers, that you'd want to change, add?
I mean, ultimately, I trust the Reinhardts. So you're asking for things that I would like to change about my character?
Well, not necessarily change is kind of a bad word, but
Okay.
anything that uh, you would like to see for your character, or just that your personal performance that you'd want to do for yourself in a future production of Tanner Maverick.
Well, I would love to kind of dive a little bit more into the kind of the drama of his life a little bit, because in the show we do touch on it, but it's there's a lot going on. So but I personally would love to really kind of understand everything that's going on in his life. Obviously I'm not gonna list major plot points that would spoil the show or anything, but just he's got a lot of a tragic family situation. He's the only person there who's doing anything really. He's kind of the voice of reason throughout a lot of the show. I would love to kind of, as an actor, take a deeper dive into how he got there. And was he always like this, or was this just something that he kind of got pushed into by everything that happened around him?
Nice. I love that. Um, all right. Well, this brings us sort of near the end of our little session here, which I'm very sad to hear, because I would absolutely be here all day if I wanted to ask everything I want to about this show. Um, so Reinhardt's, I wanted to bring this back to sort of a more broader question. Um, since we are an arts education focused sort of company, what advice would you have for uh, any people who want to pursue something creative, or just have a project that they want to pursue? What advice do you have for them in sort of creating something sort of completely original like that?
Um, if I can
Go
go
first,
first.
yeah.
Well, first of all, I think the big thing is if you have an idea and you believe in it, do it, But it's also about how you're going to do it, how you're going to like make it happen. I think I'm a firm believer in educating yourself the best that you can, like really trying to find every means to improve your skill set, um, to making it work and to portraying the vision that you have that is good, that will succeed with the proper love and the proper care. You know, you've got to make that happen. You've got to be there to make it happen.
Yeah. I have two things to say about that. I held up three fingers. Anyway, um, two things to say about it. One, from a sort of a creative point of view, if you want to create something, just start. Start anywhere you can, even if it's horrible. Every first draft sucks.
Yeah.
Start it and then just edit from there, because you're gonna wait for that stroke of inspiration and it's gonna come too late. So you got to start and just write what is in your head. Even if you don't think it's good, it'll become good the more you nurture it and the more you shape it.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Number two, from a more business point of view, like, yes, you want to create, or you want to have a plan for where you're going. And obviously we are in theater, but whatever art you're creating, try to emulate someone who already did it like you want to do it. Try to do what the greats have done, Yeah, and then just kind of sculpt your plan around who you want to be, as in the context of who's already done what you want to do. But yeah.
Preach, man. Yeah, that's truly that's the thing I think a lot of creatives need to hear is like, just start. Like, even if it sucks, like, you should really start, because if you're gonna wait, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't develop an idea if you're too afraid to write something down in the fear that it's not going to be good. The pilot episode I'm working on for a show right now, we have 15 drafts that are completely, trash. But that's part of it. You just got to go and you got to do it, and eventually, with enough, care and effort, and just saying, screw it, I'm gonna put my thoughts down.
When it all sounds like a bluff, just to believe that I'm enough. One book of sound can't change what's been done. One book of words for those who aren't the favorite sons. One book of songs for those too scared for those who dare to try. One book of sound to represent our lives.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to sum it up here. I guess that's how we're going to end things here. Thank you guys so much for bringing us along on this journey of Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound. You know, you've heard all of my thoughts on this show. I absolutely love it, and just everything that you guys have been creating with this show and with your other projects like Brayden's Pilot. Thank you guys for bringing us along. Where can we find you guys?
Well, you can
Got a
find us
band.
on Instagram at Tanner Maverick Musical, and then you can find us on TikTok at the Rhinehart Brothers. So,
Also, if you're interested in more from the three of us specifically, we have a new band called Vinyl Sky. We're on Spotify already and Instagram and TikTok of the same name.
we have a single out called Rookie Season. It's the three of us. It's awesome.
Yeah, go check it out.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we shall end things off here. I'm Sean Barnett, Artistic Director of Bohemian Arts. Please remember to like, subscribe, do all of the things that you should do on YouTube to support the wonderful artists that you see here today and that you see all throughout our channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you guys later.
So I walk out when you can run. I walk the coastal road. I walked it on my own. When I stood as one. When I fell
Thank you to the Rhinehart brothers and Brayden Handwerger for stopping by Bohemian Arts' Creators Chat series. We hope you stay up to date on all of the great projects they've got coming up online, as well as give us here at Bohemian Arts a like and follow so you can stay up to date on all of the great arts-related content we've got coming to you. Now, before we go, we have a special first look at the original world premiere concept album of Tanner Maverick's Book of Sound. We hope you enjoy.
Everybody's falling down except for me and you.
You and you, 'cause we're the ones who don't discuss. Yeah, we're doing fine.
Everybody falls in line when someone asks them to. The bitch kids and the losers and the ones who can't decide. Gotta read the ones who can't decide.